And how has your adult ADHD diagnosis changed your perception of those years? Has it reassured you in a way?
It just made sense because I just thought I wasn't smart and that I couldn't do it. But I realised that just the way I'm wired, the only person who can hurt me really is me. I'm so hard on myself. I'm so mean to myself, and I'm working on that. I think as a mother, you're not meant to say your favourite thing to do is work, but that's my favourite thing to do. I love my son and I love being a mum, but what brings me the most joy and happiness is working. I said, I think we should go in. And so my brother and I went in, and Dad had just passed. It was the weirdest, awfulest, bestest thing I've ever experienced. I guess I thought grief before that was something you went through and came out of. And grief doesn't end. There's no closure. Instead of closure, there's a huge gaping openness that will always be there.
I'm Sigourney Cantelo and welcome to Beautiful Inside. I've been a beauty and health journalist reporting on how to be beautiful on the outside for 22 years. Now I want to explore inner beauty as well. I've been influenced to make this shift by my own mental health journey, and it's prompted me to look for people like me who are willing to share their story. How do they care for their inner self while also attending to the outer? What have they learned about finding strength and courage and happiness in today's ever more challenging world? And what are the strategies that they've found to maintain that radiance, that joie de vivre, the inner spark that comes about when our minds and bodies are in balance? Come with me as we go inside the homes, routines, and inner lives of fascinating people. We'll discuss the science and psychology of beauty and self-care and give you the tools to look and feel the very best you ever have, inside and out. Welcome to Beautiful Inside by Beauticate, where we delve deep into the fascinating interplay between inner and outer beauty and explore how both aspects influence our confidence and self-perception. This season is proudly brought to you by Cure Skincare. Now, I first discovered Cure when they introduced me to their groundbreaking microinfusion system, which is a dermastamping innovation that uses active serums deep within the skin. It wasn't long before I fell in love with their other products, incorporating their LED neck and face masks into my routine, and I've recently been embracing their newly launched microinfusion targeted patches. What I like about Cure Skincare is that they work with leading dermatologists and they pair proven ingredients with really innovative delivery systems. And as you know on Beautiful Inside, we believe in the transformative power of taking time for skincare and self-care, and I'm all about being pro-aging with confidence. Cure shares this vision and strive to enhance our natural beauty through innovative skincare solutions that resonate with our philosophy of celebrating every stage of life with grace and vibrancy. I would recommend you jump on the Cure website and check out their amazing offerings. There are some incredible before and afters on there and videos. I also have a discount code for you. Plus, we're also running an amazing competition where you can win one of 5 of their customizable LED masks. So I'll pop both of those links in our show notes. Beautiful Inside acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land that this podcast is recorded on, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Now, Leigh Campbell is an absolute powerhouse in the Australian media landscape. She's known for her impressive career spanning over 2 decades. As a former beauty director at Cosmopolitan, lifestyle editor at HuffPost, and now executive editor of Mamamia, Leigh has consistently been at the forefront of Australian beauty and lifestyle journalism. Her passion for beauty and wellness extends beyond editorial. She's also the host of Mamamia's You Beauty podcast and Nothing to Wear, and she shares her insights with a devoted legion of fans. Leigh's journey, however, is not just about professional success. She's also bravely shared her personal challenges, such as navigating the complexities of IVF and miscarriages, and the profound grief of losing her dad. These experiences have shaped her into a passionate and resilient advocate for mental health and self-care. More recently, Leigh has ventured into entrepreneurship with the launch of her brand Brillo Beauty with her best friend Tegan Natoli. The brand is dedicated to providing self-care solutions for motherhood and beyond. This new chapter in her career reflects her dedication to helping women find strength and beauty in every stage of life. So I'm in Leigh Campbell's bedroom. We've known each other for 20 years.
Well, you were in beauty when I started, and I was absolutely terrified by you because you were so chic, so well put together. You were Sigourney in beauty, and every event we went to, it was like, Sigourney, what title were you back then?
New woman?
New woman, you were new woman. And I was like, oh, she's going to be awful. But guess what? Not.
Oh, well, isn't it funny how women think that of each other?
Yes.
When they're impressed by them.
And also it's judging a book by its cover. Like, you were so polished, you had such a reputation, and like obviously as a professional, but I just thought that meant you wouldn't be nice or funny or silly.
Yeah, absolutely. This is lovely, Ben. Thank you for having me in your beautiful home.
Has done any content in here. Definitely not me and my husband. So here we go.
Well, yeah, I mean, not the kind of content that you'd want to share anyway.
No, definitely not.
So we've known each other 20 years. We've been we were baby beauty editors together. You were Cosmo and I was, New Woman. And
then Vogue.
And then Vogue, yes. And then we grew up going to beauty events together, didn't we? And we've had some pretty amazing times.
I mean, there's a lot of events these days, but back then when there was like 20 or 30 mastheads, we would sometimes have breakfast, lunch, or dinner together, or trips.
Yes.
Like the beauty crew then were your colleagues more than the people in your mag because we spent so much time together.
That's right. I always said that. I see my beauty friends more than I see my family.
I remember once, I don't know if I've ever told you this, we were going to Koala or something and I saw you Googling what cheeses you could eat. I think you would have been pregnant with Max.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't want to say anything because I was like, if you were Googling a type of cheese and I was like, she's having a baby. But of course I didn't say anything to anyone.
Oh, that's nice of you. Thank you. That's funny. I remember the days.
And that's very you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Research everything to the nth degree.
Yes.
Yeah. I've watched your career flourish and I'm so proud of you. I just love what you're doing with all the podcasts, with all your content. The thing I love about Leigh is she comes across, she's so personable, so honest, so authentic. And it's just beautiful. Like I love listening to you and watching you, and Brillo Beauty is absolutely amazing. I'm so impressed to see what you guys have done. Like you've really nailed it.
Oh yeah, it's killing me, but great.
I know. I'm sorry about that, but
small biz life. You launch something and think that's it. You've had the baby, but then you've got to grow the baby.
Yeah, that's right. And you can't take that much out of the business. It all goes back in. And I mean, Beauticate's been 10 years now, so I know what it's like.
You know exactly what it's like.
Yeah, and we've had to run it pretty lean because, as you know, like the media industry is not an easy. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, small businesses, and I also don't think, like cost of living crisis, whether it's media, advertisers are pulling back on spend, whether it's product, people aren't buying discretionary items as much, so it affects everything.
Absolutely.
That's why you got to support your friends who have a business, regardless of what it is. Share their content, buy their products. If you can't afford to buy their products, share on Instagram.
Yeah, that's what and I love how transparent you are with your posts. You've always been like you always remember to explain how you found things, why you're sharing things. And and it's always got a really nice sentiment behind it, which I think is really important.
Thank you.
So, and I think that's why everybody loves Leigh so much and why I love Leigh, among the many reasons. So I thought we'd start at your childhood, if that's okay. Yeah. Right back to the very beginning, as we like to do, because that's where all the things start.
All the trauma. I've listened to your beautiful show. I have nothing, there's nothing there that has caused me any trauma. I had the world's best childhood. I have an older brother and sister, 10 and 8 years older. So I was the third child with a big gap. Mum promises I was planned. It's just that my brother never slept. So it took her 8 years to get over that and then go, let's do it.
8 years, wow.
Yeah. So, I kind of had 4 parents or 4 friends. And I also think, and this isn't disrespectful to Mum, but by the time I came along, she was like,
yeah,
off you go. My mother and sister raised me very free ranged. We lived out on property out near kind of Dural, Wiseman's Ferry. And always on minimum 5 acres. So it was go-karts, motorbikes, flying foxes. I mean, there wasn't devices at the time anyway. The only thing I remember is maybe watching Rage on Saturday mornings. But otherwise,
good was Rage. I just wish Rage would be on all the time.
But maybe it is.
Yeah, how do you find it?
I always want to put it on. Like just that's
But then the videos now are so dirty.
But they probably were when we were watching. I don't know. I mean, also, like, my friends are like, have you seen Mary Poppins? And I'm like, no. Like, my parents used to be watching, like, Cocktail, and I would watch that. So I think I saw maybe some...
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. So, look, I had the world's best childhood, best parents, brother and sister. However, but despite that, I've always been a worrier. My dad was a big worrier. He would watch TV and pick his nails, and you just knew he was deep in thought. And... at the age of 6 and 7, I would just say to Mum and Dad, I'm just so worried. And they'd be like, what are you worried about? And I said, I don't know. It's just a feeling. And thankfully, regardless of it being the 80s, they were smart enough to go, okay, let's get this looked into. So I went to a child psychiatrist, which we called the worry doctor. And it's funny to have memories that early on, but I distinctly remember he was in Borkham Hills and it was in sort of his house, and you'd wait in this little corridor and there was all books and little chairs. And I remember the smell and the sitting there. And he would ask me each week to rate my worry.
Oh, wow.
So in the days, because, you're 8, you've got to make it understandable for kids. So in the days leading up, I'd be like, okay, what's my number? And I was so worried about choosing my number out of 10.
That was more of a worry.
Yes.
Little did they know.
Little did they know. And it was just, I guess, the start of my personality and who I am and how I am. And that's continued since. But my childhood was absolutely delightful. The best parents in the whole wide world, great brother and sister, great upbringing. Dad was quite risky with business. He always had his own businesses. So we would go from having money and our own bedrooms and a house to then moving to a much smaller house, and I'd have to share with my brother or my sister, and neither of them wanted to.
That's stressful for a warrior, though.
Well, you know what? Maybe subconsciously, but they never made me, I never felt like we have money, now we don't. It was always just an adventure.
Oh,
it was just like, who do I get to share with in this house? And my brother and sister would be like, not me, because they didn't want to share with me.
How many times did you move?
Oh, all the time. Well, not all the time, but always in Sydney. I'm from Sydney. Probably on average every 5 or 6 years.
Did you go to a lot of schools?
No, always in the area. So we went from Dural to Glenhaven to back to Dural, Glenhaven. It was always within various the Hills district.
Yeah.
So went to the same school from kindy to halfway through year 11 when I finished school. I repeated year 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I couldn't colour in the lines. No, I think
repeating's great. You get an extra year at school.
No,
it wasn't good. Was it hard socially?
It fucks you up. Yeah, I remember we were lying in my parents. We were living at Kellyville at the time. We were about to go on a Christmas holidays, and I was lying down in Mum and Dad's bed, and they had lots of those knots in the timber in the ceiling. They had big, beautiful beams, and I used to make faces. And Mum and Dad said, "Oh, honey, guess what? You're going to do year 1 again. You'll get 2 sets of friends." Oh. And all I heard was, "You're stupid. You're not good enough."
Oh, duh.
And that's obviously not what it was. I did start school very young, but I think that was probably a very early indication of my ADHD. Mm-hmm. What 5 or 6 year old with ADHD wants to sit still for 8 hours?
No.
But
so you have the hyperactive, because I've got ADD.
You've
got ADHD.
This is going to be hard for me to sit still for this long.
That's okay. You don't have to.
I just took
That's
my
why
meds.
we're on a video pod.
I just took my meds. But yeah, no, my childhood was great. I was just always a worrier and a very...
Did you have medication back then?
No, I wasn't medicated. No, I mean, I wasn't diagnosed ADHD back then. Girls didn't have it.
I know.
I was well, then I don't know what I was diagnosed with, but then into
they
my
didn't give
teens.
you generalised anxiety disorder?
Not until my teens.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did they medicate you?
No. Okay. No, it just wasn't done with girls then. Girls didn't have ADHD.
No.
And I think generalised anxiety disorder, because I was so hyperactive but also a worrier.
Yeah.
And that's anxiety.
Well, ADHD and anxiety go part and parcel.
They're besties.
And often it's your mind that's actually the active thing.
Oh, 100%.
That's why you're insomnia. That's why you've struggled so much with insomnia.
My whole life.
Yeah. I know. We talk about it
we're
a
on
lot,
a bench, but you and I do. We're on a bench.
We always talk about our sleep. What were you taught about your potential by your parents? And how do you think that those lessons have influenced your life and your journey?
What a beautiful question. Look, as I said, my parents were very free range. I mean, they believed in me to do anything. There was definitely no pressure. I never did my homework. At my school, we had what was called a red book, which was your diary, and I just always used to sign Mum's signature. And because
they were very relaxed. They were like,
well, she just didn't know. It would be like, Leigh has not done her homework again, but she never saw it because I would just sign it. But they really believed in me in that they just said, as long as you can be a garbage man, a nurse, a doctor or whatever, as long as you love what you do and you do it well. I remember distinctly I wrote a letter to the principal because I think it was year 6 maybe. And there's the assembly and everyone gets the awards, and Mary, who always gets 99, got the award for that and blah, blah, blah. So I wrote a letter and I was like, hey, what about Joe, who normally gets 40%, but he worked so hard and he got 60%? And I wrote this letter. And
your social conscience was already...
I was just I wasn't good at school. I could not apply myself regardless, unless it was art or drama or English.
Were you actually referring to a Joe, or were you asking for a friend? Okay.
No, just anyone. I
what about
understand
a person who
someone who
really tried?
Yeah, and really improved. Yeah. And so then the principal read it out at school and I was just
Was it really embarrassing?
It was, but I think that probably came from my parents in that you don't have to get 100%, but if you go from 40 to 60, that's pretty bloody great. And you tried so hard, and 60 is amazing for you. That's your 100%. And that's just kind of the attitude that my parents had. My dad was, again, risky in business, very adventurous. So they just kind of instilled that in me. You know, Dad came home one day, I think I was about 11, and said, let's open a roller skating. Well, my brother came home and said, let's open a roller skating rink.
Right. I've heard about the roller skating
rink. Skate 2000 in Castle Hill was born, and my parents owned a skating rink. And
that would have been so much fun.
It was so fun.
Did you work there?
I did later after they sold it, but I basically lived there. You know, the Friday and Saturday night sessions were 7:30 till 11, and I used to fall asleep under the cashier till because my brother and sister worked there. But I remember Dad closed the whole rink and all of year 4 came. And I was just like, I am killing it. And then all the boys would ask me out. I was definitely the class clown. I would joke around a lot because I didn't want to do my work. And then, when your parents have got a skating rink, that helps. And all the boys would say they had a crush on me, but they wanted free skating and a Slurpee. Yeah, so Dad was very adventurous and he sold that and had other businesses.
So what were some of his other businesses?
He started importing parts and building Cobra cars, like Cobra cars in Australia.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, don't worry, I only made 2 because they were so expensive.
What is a Cobra
It's
car?
like it's not like a Lamborghini. It's like a fancy.
Oh, it's like a sports
yes,
car.
Yes.
Amazing.
He was a property developer.
I love that he followed his passions, whatever they were.
He was just a big kid. Like, I feel sorry for Mum now that I'm an adult. I remember a story like Dad rang Mum because he used to race cars. There's a photo out there of him racing a Mini in the 70s. And he rang Mum and they had no money and said, oh, the conderberator's broken on the such and such. We need to use our life savings for it. And she's like, oh, okay, if we can't drive the car because of the conderberator. There's no such thing as a conderberator. He just wanted to soup up this car.
Oh, my God.
So he was a big kid and very adventurous. And Mum is hilarious and has a free spirit, but she also had to be the mum, like the
reasonable one, the sensible one.
Yeah, because Dad was too trusting and made some poor decisions financially. But from all of that was just a sense of adventure and just try your hardest.
Wow. Well, I think, looking at your entrepreneurial journey with Brillo, like that takes big guts and you put a lot of your own money into it.
Yeah.
And so that probably came from Dad.
It came from Dad for sure. I mean, it's still fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I know. And you worked so hard. You did it.
I did it.
So can you tell us a little bit about how that experience changed you and what that was like?
Yeah, so Dad was diagnosed with a melanoma on the top of his ear. I drummed into him sunscreen begrudgingly and he would wear it on his face because at the time Mum and Dad had bought a house. They lived on a golf course because they loved golf so much. So they bought a house, there's a bunch of houses on a golf course and he would play 5 times a week. And I said, sunscreen. But anyway, he got diagnosed with a melanoma on his ear. They removed half his ear and they thought they got it. And that was fine. And then I was finally pregnant and it was my baby shower, which we had here at a pub not nearby with men and women and not just girls.
Yes.
Men make a baby too. Anyway, I rang Mum and Dad and I said, where are you? You're so late. And Mum said, Dad's lost. And he's been to, it's the Sharif. He's been there 1,000 times. And so then Mum said, I think Dad's got dementia or whatever. And I said, okay. So we went and got tested that week and I was 8 months pregnant and it ended up being cancer, which had travelled to his lungs.
So is that when it metastasized from the melanoma to brain cancer?
Brain and lung, yeah. And so Mum and Dad moved, he started radiation, which was, in hindsight, probably just a bit silly, but, you want to do what you can do. He moved in with my brother and his wife, who's my sister-in-law, who I adore, and my 2 nieces. They're on 35 acres out near Wiseman's Ferry. So they moved in there. Lo and behold, good old COVID lockdown happened. So Dad had radiation. My son was born. He wasn't allowed to hold the baby because of radiation. They said you shouldn't hold the baby. And I was like, you're holding my fucking baby, because I knew that we didn't have a lot of time. So we didn't hold him for long periods of time. Lockdown happened and Rich, my husband and myself and my sister who lives out there, we all made the snap decision to, lockdown. Like you couldn't really leave the suburbs.
Yeah, that's right. You were stuck in your...
So we all went to my brother's house because had we put Dad in hospital, we couldn't have seen him. And so we decided to care for him, palliative care at my brother's. So the palliative nurses came, and this is out rural, and they would come every day, and he had a special hospital bed in the bed with Mum, and I've extended my mat leave. Rich is trying to work. My 2 nieces are trying to do school. Dave, my brother's trying to work and care for Dad. Yeah.
There was enough room in the house for everyone.
Thankfully, it was a huge house, but yes, it was it was chaos, and it was so beautiful. Now I look back, 35 acres. We would all get up and go for a walk. Alexandra strapped
Could your dad walk at that stage?
Everyone
else would go for a walk.
In a wheelchair,
Dad was just declining rapidly. Had they given him a time?
They don't really do that.
Don't they? Okay.
No. Well, not in our experience, because oftentimes, particularly the patient will go, oh, well, that's it. Or
Yeah, true.
But at this point, he was not with it. You know, the cancer was eating his brain and the radiation was really hard. So he thought, and he was just watching reruns of golf on TV, the same game every day, except we would pause at 11 to watch Gladys give the update, the COVID update.
Oh my
And he
gosh.
said, stop pretending there's this disease all over the world. You won't let me go to golf. And we were like, Dad, it's hard to understand. Even we can't understand it. It's real. And he's like, you're just stopping me from going to golf. And it was hard to explain to someone who wasn't really lucid.
It is like dementia, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so he passed away at home, at my brother's home, all of us there. On a Saturday, he'd gone, you know, from his wheelchair to his bed, and it was clear he wasn't getting out. So we had a whole bunch of his friends come over, and then he hadn't been verbal, and at that point the nurses, they don't do any food, and no water, and you just give them ice on their mouth to whatever. And then he hadn't been verbal or really awake for a couple of days, and then he turned to Mum and said, I love you. And that was the Monday afternoon, and we just all sat in the room. And then on the Tuesday morning, which was my mum's birthday, he passed away next to Mum at 5 o'clock in the morning.
So she was there. Okay.
She was there.
Was she awake?
No, she was asleep. She was there in her bed, and then he was in a special hospital bed that is like a blown up thing, and it kind of does that so they don't get bed sores. I mean, it's amazing.
Wow.
And my brother had been up all night, and as had I, because it's not pretty at the end. And I came out at about 4:30 in the morning, and I said to my brother, I think something's happened. And he said, no, I was just in there an hour ago because, you know, they're foaming at the mouth. Anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God.
And I said, I feel it. I think we should go in. And so my brother and I went in, and Dad had just passed. And
You
so
felt it. That's good. Giving me goosebumps.
I felt it. And then so my brother and I just stood there, and we held each other for 10 minutes maybe. And then I woke up Mum. He went and woke up his wife, woke up Rich and the baby and the nieces. And yeah, it was the weirdest, awfulest, bestest thing I've ever experienced. And then what they don't tell you is if someone if there's a dead body in your home, like there's a whole process. So the police have to come and make sure there was no foul play. Like we didn't murder someone.
How awful to go through that when you've just lost your...
So you're actually kind of sitting there for a couple of hours, which I thought would be weird, but it was okay. And then the morgue funeral people come. And then they have to drive, I'm not laughing, but it's so weird. They have to drive the body past a GP to like certify the death and the identity. And so when the funeral people came, he had his wedding ring on. It was really tight. And they said, and he was being cremated. They said, I don't know if we'll be able to get the ring off. And I was like, cut his finger off. And they were like mortified. And my family's laughing. And I was like, he's getting cremated anyway. We let the ring cut his finger off. And they're like, we can't do that. And then at the funeral a few days later, which was a whole nother thing, 10 people at a funeral in COVID,
my God.
they said, here's the ring. I said, he cut his finger off, right? And they were like, no! But it's that sort of morbid humour and the weird things you do.
That's wild.
Yeah, so that all happened.
I'm so sorry, but also so glad that you were with him.
What
a blessing.
Had life been normal,
Yeah,
I'd be out visiting every few days. And so as horrific as lockdown and COVID was, it was such a gift that we're all together. There was 6 weeks that we're all in that house
that is
until Dad passed, and it was beautiful and fucked and
because you hear other stories, and I heard one the other day of someone who lost her mum overseas, and
and interstate, can't go to the funeral. Yeah, so look, that was great. 10 people at a funeral was pretty awful. You know, he's got 2 sisters, and they came, but my cousins, his nieces and nephews had to sit in the car park because they couldn't attend their uncle's funeral. God. There was 10 of us. Alexander counted as number 11, strapped to my chest as a 10-month-old, and they said, too many people, and I said, try me. And I was like, he's part of me.
Yeah,
And it was really undignified and really sad, but...
Got through it. That's life. Like it's
never neat and tidy. You always have regrets. You know, there's things I wish I'd said. I wish I was in the room an hour earlier, but...
The fact that you had that feeling and you went in there and you saw him right after it happened.
And you know what? I think people have told me that he probably chose, everyone's asleep. David hasn't checked on him, and he probably chose that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is there something that you've learned about grief from going through this that you would share?
Grief? Yeah. I mean, I've learned so much. It's fundamentally changed who I am in my genes and who I will be forever. it taught me that I guess I thought grief before that was something you went through and came out of. And grief doesn't end. There's no closure. Instead of closure, there's a huge gaping openness that will always be there. But it also just teaches you that that is what life is about. You know, my brother lifting my father onto the toilet and when he was so thin, me lifting him onto the toilet, showering, you know, none of this shit matters. Our free beauty products, like it's beautiful. We're very lucky, but it doesn't, nothing else matters. It's just, you know, connection, I think, is what life is about with friends and family and pets and experiences. So it's really given me a really great perspective. And for me, I used to have to get into that perspective and head frame consciously, but now it's where I live. So it's such a gift.
It is a gift. It's hard to even say grief is a gift, but there is something in that, isn't there? And people who say that they've gone through near-death experiences with cancer and things like that have got that same perspective.
Yeah, and I think witnessing it so close firsthand, it's
really amazing.
I was going to say it's worth it. It's definitely not worth it. I wish it was here, but it's not all bad.
That's right. There's some silver lining.
Yeah.
And what about your mum? What ways did your relationship with your mum influence your perception of femininity and beauty?
My mum's the best. She's so funny. She's so young at heart, as was Dad. They are just the most hilarious person. I remember Mum getting ready to go out for fancy things. Estee Lauder Youth Dew was her fragrance, and if I smell it now, I'm like 8 years old playing in her clothes, and she had beautiful earrings, like, you know, it was the late 80s. It was the shoulder pads, and she had those Guerlain coloured balls.
Yes, the meteorites powder. Yes. Yeah, they were fun for little kids.
Oh my gosh, and she'd be like, stop crushing them, and I'd be like, sorry. Femininity, I mean, I don't know. My mum is a powerhouse. She is a boss. She's the bossy one. That's where my brother and sister and I get it. My dad was kind of quiet. She got shit done. Otherwise, nothing would have got done. So not so much about femininity, but just about being a powerful, strong leader and woman. And she's still like that at nearly 80. You know, Dad died and now she lives on her own for the first time in her life. You know, she was married to Dad at 19, and I'm just so proud of her, you know, taking it in her stride and her independence, and soldiering on as that generation tends to do.
Yes.
Whether or not it's healthy. But yeah, I used to just thought my mum was the most glamorous woman in the world, and she still is. Like, not that I wish her death anytime soon, but she shops exclusively like Seed Country Road. Her wardrobe's amazing. So I'm like, Mum, this is all mine. And often when I go over, I steal half her wardrobe.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
I love that. And how was adolescence for you? Were there any defining moments that set you on your path to where you are today?
I mean, it was fun. I liked school because I liked recess and lunch, and I loved my friends. I didn't like the school.
You were social.
part.
Yeah.
I mean, we all went through that awkward. I had braces and sun in and a short hair, but it was good. I mean, the tumultuous, you know, liking boys and you're friends with that person and now you're not. Just the normal stuff. It was great. And I think maybe because of my ADHD, I've forgotten the bad stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I left school halfway through year 11 because there's no way I was doing the HSC. At that point, I was getting like 2% on things. But then because I had repeated, I was older. So I got my license first. So even though I'd left school, I would go to McDonald's drive-through and bring Macca's to everyone for lunch. And they'd be like, Leigh, you don't go to school here anymore. And I'd be like,
You're like, can't quite leave it
I
behind.
know, but I work at David Jones Shoe Department. I've got the day off, so I'm just dropping off Macca's
God,
to
you would
my
have been
friends.
so cool. Everyone would have been like, Leigh, I want Leigh's life.
Yeah, well, that's it. And then, but, you know, probably deep down I felt like a failure. And I hope now it's testament to the fact that you don't always need tertiary education. I mean, I didn't even finish secondary education, but
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've proven it. I mean, so many entrepreneurs have proven it.
yeah, I think it depends. Look, if you want to be a brain surgeon, probably go to uni
Yes.
and like learn how to do that. But if
Yeah.
you're creative, there's definitely other ways rather than, you know, that path. But no, overall it was great.
And how has your adult ADHD diagnosis changed your perception of those years? Has it reassured you in a way?
It just made sense
Yeah.
because I just thought I wasn't smart and that I couldn't do it. But I realised that just the way I'm wired, maths, science, no, I liked a bit of science, maths, Geography, I'm hopeless at. Love history.
Oh, same. I'm useless.
Yeah,
I have
same.
no idea where anything
Like
is.
I had to Google where's Lisbon the other day.
I can't remember. The memory's a problem. Do you have a problem with your memory?
Shocking.
Like it's atrocious.
Shocking, yeah.
I lose words mid-sentence.
Same.
Like, what's that word?
Yes, like I am smart. It's trying to come out. But now it just kind of all makes sense.
Yeah.
And in my son, who is 5, I think he might be a little bit like me. It's good to go, okay, I think I know what's going on here, and I'll nurture you in a way. Not that I wasn't nurtured by my parents. It's just that it wasn't a thing then. No. Had I lent in more to art, drama, English, which I loved and was really good at, would have been a different story. But when I was diagnosed, it was actually when I was postpartum. I was like, oh.
How did it happen?
The diagnosis?
Yeah.
Well, when I was 7 weeks postpartum, I tried to leave Rich. I sat him down at 3 o'clock in the morning and I
3
said,
a.m.
Yep. And I said, it's over. You can leave in Bondi Junction. Your girlfriend can sleep over, but not when you have the baby. Like I thought I had it all
he was
together.
having an affair.
No, I just was
Your girlfriend, as in like, I see.
when he gets one.
When we gets one.
And he said, okay, honey, yep, this sounds good, but I think you should speak to Brianne and Erin, who are my 2 besties. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I've just left Rich. And they were like, okay, do you think that maybe that's the hormones or whatever? Anyway, so I went to my GP, and what you do for postpartum depression is you do what's called the Edinburgh Scale, and it's basically a test. And my GP did that with me. And then I heard him on the phone, and he's like, no, I need to get her in now. She has severe postpartum depression. And I was like,
You didn't even know.
and I was like, oh, he's talking about me. I mean, I should have known that I was susceptible because I'd been diagnosed anxiety over the years, depression over the years, bipolar over the years, you know. So I went to see this fantastic psychiatrist I now see regularly. So since Alexander was born, and I was diagnosed with postpartum depression and what's called adjustment disorder. So because my whole life, my sense of self-worth has been go, 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 get a lot of work done. You know, I had a bunch of direct reports at Mum and Mia.
Yeah.
And then I go on mat leave, and this one direct report just sleeps and shits all day. And I just had
No feedback.
no feedback. And I had nothing for my sense of self-worth. And so through seeing him, he was like, okay, do you like have your school reports? And like he was, and you know, this was all over Zoom. And I used to hold my phone. And then I remember it was the first time I had my phone down, and I'm doing this. And he's like, I think you've got ADHD. You cannot sit still. And I was like, okay. And I spoke to Mum, and I got my school reports, and he was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of
The
sense.
penny just dropped.
Yes, the penny dropped.
And then did you go on medication straight away?
I did, yeah.
And what did you notice?
I tried a few back and forth. I stupidly was reluctant to go on ADHD medication, which is ridiculous because I've been on antidepressants since my late teens.
Yeah.
We tried a few to get it right. Then we took a few to get the dose right. And then I felt like instead of 65 tabs in my brain, I was down to 7.
Yes. So it doesn't clear it completely for you?
No,
Yeah,
it doesn't. Like still there's tasks I don't want to do.
Yeah,
like
same.
the medication's not going to make me want to do a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to.
But it helps, doesn't it? It really
yeah,
does.
it just-
like you can just focus that little bit
Yes,
more.
exactly. And then I'll, reward myself with like,
Which one are you on now?
I'm on Ritalin. No, I'm not. I'm on
You're on Dex.
dexamphetamine.
Yes,
I'm on
yeah.
dexamphetamine short release.
Yes.
So it's about a 2-hour dose, and then I can tailor my day, which is sort of,
Do you take a few or
I
one?
take between 4 to 6.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And I was only taking it for work and
Yeah.
not on the weekends. And I spoke to him about that, and he said, Leigh, I don't recommend that because look at your beautiful son. He's asking you to play with him.
And you struggle.
And if you're finding it hard to play, I mean, no parents like playing anyway, but he deserves your focus too. Wow. So it's like if you're just monging out and like, doing whatever.
Yep.
But he said I would recommend it in family situations so you can focus on your husband or your child, which really, because I thought ADHD, productivity, work, outcome, but it's actually focusing on
what's important.
Yeah,
Yes.
whatever's important.
The priorities and being able to prioritize effectively rather than being like, oh, rabbit, like squirrel, like
yes,
it's toast.
Yeah.
Oh, better do that. Like I will do
Yes.
6 things around the house.
and never get them done. And
Yeah,
then you walk
and
into
then-
another room and
you're
you're like,
oh, I better tidy this up. And then,
yeah,
oh my
and
God.
Alexander does deserve that. And he's not something to tick off my to-do list, but he deserves that. So I take it sometimes on the weekends, depending on what we're doing.
And how does it affect your sleep? Because
So that was a lot of tailoring for me.
I'm struggling with that.
I'm fine. Well, I never slept before that anyway.
And you say you stop before midday, or is that just me?
I take 6 a.m., then sort of 8, 9. It kind of depends.
Yeah.
But yeah, last by 2 because it's quick release. It's
it's
kind
only
of
2
done by
hours.
2 hours.
Oh, that's
yeah.
good. Yep.
So I just sort of tailor it, and it just depends on the day, but between 4 and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, at work with the podcast, yesterday we were recording, and then I was like, I need my meds. Like, I could tell it was worn off because I just,
go, Zoop. How many podcasts do you do in a day?
So with Mamma Mia, my contract is sort of a quota of content a month or a week, I guess. So Tuesdays is my huge day in the office, and we batch record Nothing to Wear and You Beauty. So Tuesday is my full day of talking.
You must be so talked out.
I am, however, not unlike, you do all of this. At Mamma Mia, it's a behemoth. So there's a producer for each show who I don't have to press buttons.
Yeah.
If there's a tech fail, I don't have to fix it.
So do they just give you talking points and notes? And
I write the script, but they look in the guests and do all that sort of stuff. And
But they'll give you notes and background so you can write the script. You have to go and write it.
I do that myself.
That's a lot.
But that's because
How many scripts do you have to write for it?
Oh, but it's just answering. Like, I'm not talking about like rocket science. It's
Yes.
like, what's hyaluronic acid? We know that off the top of our head. Or product recommendations.
And when you say you write the script, it's just points.
It's talking points.
Because
Exactly.
you come across so naturally.
Yeah,
There's
no. It's just
doesn't
to
seem
jog my
scripted at
memory.
all.
No. There's never like a word by word script. It's just like, hey, Leigh, remember to say this.
Yeah. Amazing.
But then they do all the hard work. They edit it and take out all the ums and ahs and shits. And I forgot what I was going to say.
But you still, what about all your social media? You're still editing your own stuff for that?
Well,
No, for your social.
I mean, I am, but
your videos that you do.
I don't edit a reel. I don't know how. I'm 900 and I've tried to learn. I have tried to learn, but because of my ADHD, so many people have shown me and I just can't. So I have a beautiful girl who I pay.
Oh, good.
She's a freelance content editor.
Amazing.
And I just send her the files
that would be
and tell her what I
nice.
need. Yeah, I mean, it's worth the cost.
Editing is like,
because
well,
I just can't learn it and I'm desperate to learn it. But if it's anything in the minute kind of detail, I can't do it. Too hard. No, I can't.
take your meds.
And then also what you see on social media is completely polished. Like, I've taken 5 takes to get that right, so it's
but
not
that's
real.
time consuming. So what I wanted to say is, looking back, I mean, so you built, a very impressive career, Cosmo, HuffPost, Mamma Mia. Looking back, how did your 20s and 30s look when you were working in those environments? Was it always high pressure? And has that changed? Are you still working at the intensity that you did? Probably more so because you've got a child.
More and a business.
And a business.
More so. Look, high pressure, I wouldn't say is the right term. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're reviewing lipstick and that's not changing.
Yeah, you've always been very realistic about that.
It's a good
point. But it's still deadlines based.
Yes, it is. Look, I work hard, but it's not hard work.
Yes. It's fun, right? We love what we do.
It's fun. I mean, I think showing up on social media when you're not well mentally or in a bad place, that's hard. And I did that through, IVF and the death of my dad. But our jobs, I worked incredibly hard. I remember when I was at Shop to Drop magazine, I was EA to the editor, but also production editor. So I had to be there in the mornings for the editor. And back then you send the production editor sends the files to the printer. And that would sometimes be up till midnight at the office. And then I'd get the 6:10 home to Castle Hill and get back on the 6:10.
What?
But I never told my bosses that I was kind of going home and having... Anyway, I ended up in hospital with adrenal fatigue. And I had to have my tonsils and adenoids out because I was basically just permanently glandular fever and sick.
That's a big op at that age. Like, they don't do that lightly.
You don't want to have that done at 24.
No.
I'd rather give birth 80 times. It was hell. And Paula Joy was my big boss at the time, and she was like, never do that to your health for work. But I loved what I was doing.
Are you a people pleaser?
Apparently, my new therapist says
I'm
I am.
thinking maybe.
Well, I'm acts of service.
Yeah, you take your job very seriously.
Yeah, I just like doing things for people. And I also get a huge sense of accomplishment from work. I think as a mother, you're not meant to say your favourite thing to do is work, but that's my favourite thing to do. I love my son and I love being a mum, but what brings me the most joy and happiness is working.
You are living the motto or the ideal that your parents wanted for you.
Yeah, I think so.
And they said, do whatever you do as long as you love it, and you love it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really cool.
And I think also if you're fulfilled at work, overwhelming to-do list aside, it'll make you a better mother. And that works for me because, I can be fancy Leigh on Instagram or Brillo Leigh in the warehouse. And then when I'm with Alexander, I feel well-rounded.
Yeah, you've got balance. Yeah. Balance is an elusive word. But
Well, balance doesn't exist,
No.
but I have enough elements of me that aren't just a mum.
I was thinking about something that happened back in our early magazine days, and I've been meaning to ask you about it. Do you remember when there was that blog?
Yes, 4-inch Hills.
Yes.
Yeah, we know who that is. Was. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, you have to tell me off. Okay, so can you tell, are we willing to talk about it on what happened? Because that was such a huge moment for all of us in
And
the
my
magazine.
response?
Yeah, like you were so brave and gutsy. And
That's when I never learned to shut my mouth. So back at, you weren't at ACP.
I feel like I was, or maybe I was at EMAP at that stage.
Yeah, so there was
a woman.
Yes, so there was a blog about magazine people. It was an anonymous blog, and they used kind of fake names to talk about people. And it was so salacious.
mean.
It was so mean. And look, it was kind of fun to check it.
Yes, it was all like, it was kind of like Gossip Girl.
It was Gossip Girl.
Yeah, guess who you don't sue.
And it was obviously an insider.
Yes.
They would talk about us and da-da-da. And then I ended up writing
4-inch heels, was it?
4-inch heels
Yeah.
only, I think, or 4-inch heels, yeah.
Yeah, they would talk about all of us. So we would check it and we would be like, oh my God, she's talking about me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only just grown and grown and grown with trolls and social media. But this is when like Facebook was
It was before trolling was a thing. Really.
Yeah, no, this was the first.
the
yeah,
first
because
experience.
Facebook was new. We didn't have Instagram. Like there wasn't. Yeah, and obviously it was an insider. And so I ended up writing because then people would comment. And so I ended up commenting being, you don't have a brave bone in your body. If you do, put your name to this. We work incredibly hard as a beauty editor, particularly back in the day. You spent most nights out at a work event, which is
Because they were basically trolling, saying, "You beauty girls, you don't do any work or something bitchy."
Yes, and back then the beauty person really was the face of the magazine. You sit next to the head of L'Oreal or Coty, and it's kind of your job to professionally flirt and sing the praises of your title, and that helps with ad spend. And so oftentimes we would have dinners out 4 nights a week, and at the detriment of time with our family or whatever.
Absolutely.
And so I just said, like, grow a backbone and piss off.
You really did. And you said what we were all thinking. Then that unleashed hell. Like, then there was this kind of whole response.
That unleashed hell.
Did you learn anything out of that?
No, I haven't learned to shut
You
my
do
mouth.
it all again?
I will always stand up for what I believe in, or myself, or whoever.
So if someone trolled you today,
I get it all the time. I had to move from my old place because someone was waiting outside.
Stop.
And then saying, I'm watching Leigh coming home. Yeah.
what were they doing? What were they planning on doing?
Just posting on a forum or watching Leigh coming home. So hence.
But you wouldn't you just block now? You wouldn't actually
Oh,
engage?
no, I don't access those forums. Some people send them to me on Instagram. If someone's on Instagram, I block.
Yeah, but I mean, back then we didn't really know about. Not through. Like, if you've learned something, I mean, like, would you not throw fuel on the fire now? You just block.
Oh,
what we do
you know what? My psychiatrist is great. Like, I love him. I've got another therapist/coach, which we'll talk about later. But my psychiatrist is like old and smart and just no bullshit. And he's like, Leigh, those people are pathetic. If they've got time to sit on the internet, they are jealous because they don't have something. It's about them. And like, of course it hurts, but he's just like, it has nothing to do with you. And they're over there talking about Mary and Sigourney and blah, 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 and he said, take it as a compliment, feel sad for them, hope that they find happiness.
That's good.
And so, no, I don't let it affect me.
I just remember back reading all your posts, and I just thought you're so brave, and
I've always been like that, and it's got me in a lot of trouble because I've just, again, like writing the letter to the principal, like, hey, like, that's just been my shit.
good on you. Because I avoid confrontation.
What star sign are you?
A Scorpio, but I'm not. I know.
See, I'm Aries, the
never.
ram. I will go in there and I will, And I just have always been that way. The only person who can hurt me really is me. I'm so hard on myself.
Yeah,
I'm so mean to myself, and I'm working on that. But no. So that shit, like, I don't know. And, obviously my friends and family and loved ones.
Yes,
if I
you've
ever
got
did
your
anything
core-
to upset them, but strangers on the internet,
Yeah.
good luck.
Good on you. I love it. Okay, so you've got a lot of roles: media executive, entrepreneur, mother. How do you manage the balance, which you said is not really a thing, and what lessons have you learned along the way?
Yeah, so balance is a term, I've said this many times, sold to working mothers to make them feel inadequate. Social media, you see everything someone gets done, but you don't see what they don't.
Yeah.
I have extremely high levels of anxiety of all the things I'm not doing, hence why part of the reason that people on my Instagram keep saying, you've lost so much weight. And I'm like, wow, yes, welcome to anxiety. My husband is fantastic. He travels a lot, but he's very proactive. I have an analogy that there's sort of like the foreman. I'm the foreman of our life. So I make the plans and do the bossing around. And then he's the bricklayer. So he will, we're going away soon. I said, book the cats in for this or do this. And he'll do it. I'm also a bricklayer.
Delegator.
Yeah, but I'm also a bricklayer because I'm just the mum.
You have to be.
Yeah, so I'm doing the washing. But we have very equal divided roles. He's extremely supportive about me going away if I've got an overseas work trip or a girls' weekend. Other than that, I just see what needs to be done that day, Between Mamma Mia and Leigh Campbell Creative, which is my content, and Brillo, there's always urgent things. So I just try and get them done. When Alexander goes down to bed, I log back on. That's why when people are like, have you watched The Bear? Have you watched this? I'm like,
no,
when do people
I don't watch TV. Like maybe once a week we'll watch a show together on a Saturday night.
I've got ADHD, so I don't want to anyway.
Yeah,
I do miss reading. I mostly only read, I'll slowly read a book or on holidays.
Yeah.
I just fit in what I can.
So do you read a lot? I mean, do you work a lot late at night?
Yes.
Yeah. I can't work after a certain time.
Well,
my brain just switches off.
But then I lie down and my brain thinks of the things.
Yeah, I know. So you have to do them. That's what I do that at 2 or 3 a.m. and then I'm like, can I get up and work?
Yeah. So from a functional point of view, I use Trello, and that's like a board, like it's an organization.
I use Trello too.
Yeah. So I've got Brillo, Life, Mamma Mia, and whatever.
And you move things through
across. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Rich and I use a shared notes on our phone where the shopping list is, where all our license plates are, because half the time I go to.
Can't remember them.
No, I can't. I go to pay for the thing, and I'm like, what's my license plate? And then the other person, I'm going to the supermarket in half an hour, make sure the list is updated. So
do you lose your car constantly? I lose it literally almost every time.
Twice in the last week. I went to Warringah Mall. No, I went there.
Warringah Mall's a nightmare.
Okay,
There's so many car parks and they're not labelled correctly.
And then I had a mental breakdown, and I called Rich and I was like, our car's been stolen. I need to get an Uber. I had blisters from walking around.
I'm getting an air tag for the car. Someone told me
do that. I've got 7 air tags under the bed that I've never turned on because I love to buy organisational things in the hopes it'll make me organised. I'm organised, but I'm chaos. So,
but you're tidy, definitely tidy, and
you're not showing that part.
Well, but no, also
you got a lot of help. I have to say, I have a beautiful cleaner who comes once a week, and she folds the clean, washing, she changes the bed, she does all the cleaning, because I can do it. I don't have time to do it. It's an absolute privilege and a luxury to be able to afford it. She's a lovely woman. I like supporting her. She's just got married, and I think it's important to say, you've got help. We have no family help nearby. My mum is unable to care and lives an hour and a half away, Rich's family's in Melbourne. So any time that I have that I'm not working, it's with Alexander. Alexander wants to go back in. He loves me so much. He's constantly stuck to me.
He wants to go back in.
So I can't clean when he's home because he tries to help, or he'll throw bobby pins.
So beautiful though, the relationship.
It's beautiful. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But I don't ever have alone time in this home unless it's during the day if I'm working from home like today. So I just can't. And so I think it's important to say, if we want to go out, we pay $40 per hour for a babysitter plus their Uber home. We pay for a weekly cleaner.
Yeah.
But we can, and I don't do it all in that way. Rich is in charge of the cats and the kitty litter and the cat food. I'm in charge of keeping the child alive and the doctor's appointments and the haircuts.
So who cooks?
Me, if you want to call it cooking.
Yeah, I know. I do a lot of heating up.
And that's where we're going to wrap up our incredible chat with Leigh Campbell. We covered a lot, from balancing motherhood and career to personal challenges like ADHD and anxiety. Leigh's honesty is so refreshing, and that's why I always love catching up with her. Make sure you tune into part 2, where we dive even deeper into Leigh's story. Trust me, you will not want to miss this episode. It's quite surprising and a lot of fun. If you're enjoying these conversations, please don't forget to subscribe, rate and view us on iTunes. It makes a world of difference and helps me to keep bringing these fascinating stories to you. Until next time, I'll see you soon.